Hey guys, Angel down here at Indian Motorcycle of San Diego. We loved all the great feedback we got on our Chief video and decided that we wanted to do some more walk-around videos. Today I want to bring to you some more details on the two different bagger lines in the Indian Motorcycle lineup. We will be talking about the all-new Indian Motorcycle Challenger and the all-new Indian Motorcycle Chieftain, Limited, and Dark Horse. To begin, I wanted to share a couple of things that are similar between the two bikes. Obviously, they're both very high-powered, well-performing baggers with hard-locking saddlebags, power windshields, 7-inch ride command with Bluetooth and GPS on the Limited and Dark Horse series, along with 19-inch front wheels, Metzler high-performance tires, and an industry-leading set of suspension on both the Challenger and the Chieftain. Now we wanted to do something a little special today with this video, so we're actually going to release two videos to you, one in English that I will be hosting, and then one in Spanish that our amazing sales associate Aaron will be putting out, giving all the same information, but in Spanish, to continue to give as much information as we can to all of our customers. Now we'll dive in a little deeper on some of the details of the Chieftain that may make it the bagger for you. All right guys, right next to me I have a 2021 Chieftain Limited. To keep things simple, I wanted to introduce a Limited or a Dark Horse alongside the Challenger. That way we can really highlight the 116 and its features. However, in the base models, keep in mind the Chieftain does come in a 111 variation. So that engine is going to be putting out a little bit lower horsepower, a little bit lower torque, and has a fewer features. So keep in mind this is a Limited, so it's going to have the larger Thunderstroke 116 that we've grown to love. Now this engine's putting out 126 foot-pounds of torque and about 88 horsepower from the factory. Now, a big thing that is a misconception of the Chieftain is that it's not as much of a performance bagger as the Challenger, which is completely untrue. If you drop the Stage 1 exhaust and air intake along with Stage 2 cams, this bike gets upwards of 119 horsepower. So that's coming up much closer to what the 108 Challenger engine's putting out. Another misconception about the Chieftain is that it runs hot. Of course, it is inherently a hotter engine because it isn't liquid cooled. However, it does have an onboard oil cooler, along with the rear cylinder deactivation, which are all features and benefits on the bike to prevent heat from becoming an issue in your ride. I personally love the 116 motor. The biggest thing to keep in mind with a 116 is it is a true blue air-cooled American V twin engine. And not only is it about power with baggers, but it's also about sound. And I can guarantee you, every single pipe you put on a Chieftain is going to sound significantly louder than a pipe on a Challenger, just out of pure engine displacement differences. 1890 cc's, 116 cubic inches. Really, really, really powerful motor. The other difference that you're going to run into on the Chieftain against the Challenger is they both have a rear mono shock. However, the Chieftain is going to come with an air shock. So that is adjustable with an air pump that you get complimentary with every purchase. So everyone gets an air pump, and it's very, very versatile and very easy to adjust the suspension based off this air pump. The other big thing to keep in mind with the Chieftain is its overall ground clearance and seat height. It's coming in at a 25.6 seat height. So it's going to be about a full inch shorter than the Challenger for a seat height, which is a huge benefit if you're a little bit more vertically challenged, if you aren't as comfortable on a taller bike. This one has a super, super low seat height. Also, we deck this guy out with a Saddleman seat, which actually gives you a ton of room. So if you don't want to feel cramped, or if you are taller like myself, you can go all the way up to the Saddleman seat. And as you can see, you have plenty of space that you can find in an aftermarket seat to have plenty of room inside the Chieftain. The other nice thing you'll find on the sitting position of the Chieftain is you're going to feel like you sit more in the bike rather than on the bike. Whereas a Challenger is very, very performance focused. So you will feel that you sit a little bit higher up. We're talking an inch in seat height and an inch in ground clearance. Very, very marginal differences, but they make a big difference when you're riding. And then, of course, the number one biggest difference between the two bikes, fixed fairing versus fork-mounted fairing. The Chieftain is going to have a fork-mounted fairing. So what that means is the fairing is attached to the forks, not the frame of the motorcycle. So it will move with you as you're going through a corner, and you kind of really see with the headlight. Whereas a Challenger fairing being fixed is going to really just stay completely still, and you're going to feel more of that counter steering, counter leaning, and remaining with the straight on headlight. So it's kind of like the difference between riding a sport bike and a Sportster. Sport bikes, very fairinged, very aggressive, everything is set in place, whereas a Sportster is going to feel a little bit more limber, a little bit more fun, everything's connected to the handlebars. With that, you do get more wind feedback on the Chieftain, so keep that in mind. You will feel more wind on the Chieftain than you will the Challenger, just because of the impact of the wind hitting that fairing is going to feed through either the body of the bike or your handlebars. So definitely, I always recommend test ride both bikes because they are different and they feel different, and everybody likes a little bit different version of a ride. The other cool thing about the Chieftain that I'm a big fan of is their handlebar options. In the Chieftain, you're going to have anywhere between a mid-rise bar to a stock bar to a reduced reach bar that's going to set your hands at a really optimal position. On the Chieftain, I really like the mid-rise bars. However, I don't like the mid-rise bars on the Challenger because it actually spreads me out too far. So definitely take a look at them. Just because you like mid-rise bars on the Chieftain doesn't mean you're going to like the mid-rise bars on the Challenger, or vice versa. You may prefer a lower bar on the Chieftain than you do the Challenger. Another fun thing about both bikes to keep in mind is so many of the accessories are interchangeable. Adaptive headlight, mufflers, seats, windshields, a lot of it is similar. Clockworks makes windshield for both bikes. Headlights, the same. Mufflers, the same. Different headers, same mufflers. So keep that in mind as you're shopping and kind of building your perfect bagger, that if you find a slip-on exhaust that fits a Chieftain, it's probably going to fit your Challenger. I think that about covers it for our Chieftain review. If you have any questions, let us know, and then we'll move on to the Challenger. And long awaited, the Indian Challenger. The new Challenger was released in 2020, and it features the all-new 108 cubic inch PowerPlus liquid-cooled engine. Now, this may be brand new to the market, but we see a lot of similarities in this engine that we see in the Scouts, the FTRs, and even Polaris's previous line in the Victory model. So with that being said, this is not Polaris's first up to bat on a liquid-cooled, high-powered, high-cc engine. Even though it's only 108 cubic inches, sitting at about 1768 cc's, it's putting out all of the torque and all of the horsepower at 122 horsepower and 128 foot-pounds torque from the factory. That's massive. So they mean everything when they mean this is a performance bagger. With that being said, you will notice just by looking at the bike compared to the Chieftain, you have a little bit more ground clearance, only by about like half an inch or so. It's not massive, but that half an inch makes a big difference when you're getting into those corners and really leaning the bike over. You also lose about an inch in seat height, so you sit up a little higher. And as I mentioned earlier on the Chieftain, it gives you that little bit different seating position. So you're not sitting directly down in the bike, but you're feeling more in line with the bike. You also have a little bit bigger tank on the Challenger. So you're gonna go from a 5.5 gallon gas tank to a big 6-gallon gas tank. So you have all of the range, all the miles to travel, and to do them as quickly as you possibly can. Other cool thing about the Challenger, very performance driven. So it is one of the only baggers you can get on the market that has an onboard IMU, which means it has a version of traction control, which is a smart lean technology from India and developed by Bosch that actually communicates to the motorcycle to get you the ideal lean angle RPM range. It has a maximum RPM of about 3,800 max RPMs, which is about 400 more than the 116. So keep that in mind. All of that is what translates the Challenger into a performance bagger rather than the Chieftain being considered a performance bagger. Though, like I mentioned earlier, don't let that shock you or shy away from the Chieftain, because you can make a Chieftain just as powerful. They're just different. The other nice thing, liquid cooled. It's one of the very few, probably only, American V-twin you can get with a fully liquid cooled radiator. Keeps it nice and cool, keeps you comfortable, and keeps you able to ride those longer rides. You're not having to worry about getting hot through traffic or when you're sitting at an idle. This bike's gonna keep you really, really comfortable. It also still has all the same rear cylinder deactivation and ride modes that you're gonna get on the 116. As far as handlebars go on the Challenger, you do have a little bit different setup than you do on the Chieftain. As you can see, just by me sitting on this Challenger, these are the Challenger mid-rise bars. Now, if you were to see me sitting on a Chieftain with mid-rise bars, it's gonna be set up quite a bit differently just because the entire fairing's different. The biggest difference between the Chieftain and the Challenger, outside of performance or engine or anything, is the fairings. This is what makes the biggest difference. Fork-mounted fairing, this is a frame-mounted fairing. That means as I turn the bars, the fairing does not move. What that also means is as I'm going down the highway at speed, the wind is impacting the entire weight of the motorcycle, not just my fairing and not just my handlebars. That way the wind is being distributed better throughout, so I'm getting less wind fatigue. This makes a big difference when you're really cooking down the highway, when you're getting up to those higher speeds, and it's just windy, especially here in California, where we have very highly populated highways. That wind gets picked up. On a Challenger, you are floating comfortably with that fixed mounted fairing. Lastly, it does have a mono shock as well. It's just not going to be an air shock. It's a hydraulically adjusted rear shock. So it's a little bit different, but just as easy to adjust and just as simple. All of these tools come with the bike standard, ready to go for you. I think that about covers all of our details on the Challengers. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Thanks for watching, guys. We hope we made your decision on picking between a Challenger and a Chieftain that much easier, and that you end up picking the bagger that's perfect for you. Please go and like, comment, share on our Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube channels. The more you comment, the more we know how to continue making great videos and content for you guys. Also, please go check out Aaron Gonzalez's version of this same video in Spanish. Look forward to seeing you guys, and give us a call at any point in time, 858-277-0422, Indian Motorcycle San Diego. Bye, guys.